We live in an era of hyperconnectivity. The amount of information and incentives to which we are exposed on a daily basis is mind-numbing. There's a signal saturation, and some will even venture talking about attention fracking. Companies are looking to grow their business and are well aware of this fact. You need to be top of mind to attract new customers. But how? How can you stand out when there's so much noise? Who are you targeting? What are you telling them? When, where, and how are you talking to them? Today, we will talk about digital marketing. Our guest, Dr. Jonathan Snow, will guide us through the most important concepts in this world and his personal story in this field. Like many personal stories, this one is not a straight line succession of events. Jonathan has a very interesting background that blends two entirely different skill sets, digital marketing and dentistry. He's been very successful in both worlds and learned various lessons along the way, and he's ready to share this with you. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Let's get started with the very basics. What do you do today for a living?
Yeah, so currently I'm Chief Innovation Officer of Avenue Z, a performance marketing agency that spans across social media marketing, PR, content marketing, and SEO. So my background really, could rewind 10 years ago, got started in the e-commerce side through affiliate marketing. I built an affiliate marketing platform that leveraged Instagram influencers back in 2014 when Instagram influencers first started becoming mainstream. Ended up working with nearly every influencer you could think of on Instagram back then, and essentially built out a massive network of influencers that generated 9 figures in revenue within 2 years of launching our platform. And from there, we had so much leverage that we decided to start launching our own e-commerce brands, utilizing that influencer network that we had built to generate traffic and revenue for our own brands. So ended up launching a new brand every single quarter for a few years, ended up with 9 brands at our peak in our portfolio. Each one of these brands was bootstrapped. They were all 7 or 8 figures in annual revenue within the first year of launching it. And obviously, when we started launching the brands, we got really good at every element in e-commerce. So outside of influencer, that's where we started getting our chops in paid media. So like running Facebook ads and Google ads and email marketing, everything was done in-house. So we built out a huge infrastructure in-house to service our own brands in every element of marketing. And over the years, developed a reputation. Brands started coming to us, asking if we could run their marketing. And so that's how the agency was born. Ended up selling our brands over the years and eventually made the pivot to the agency side about 5 years ago, and became a full service agency. It was extremely easy to pivot since we had already the whole infrastructure built out. Now we were servicing clients. Now we're Shopify Plus partners. We're TikTok Shop partners. We grew tremendously fast. We were #2 fastest growing marketing company in the US last year by Inc. 5000. So that was one of our big accolades. We were actually acquired a year ago. I'm still full time. So like the agency that I founded was the Snow Agency, and Avenue Z acquired us, and I'm with Avenue Z right now as Chief Innovation Officer. And along the way, I happened to serve as a dentist in the Air Force and specialized in orthodontics, and that's a story for a different day. But I also have a specialty in dental medicine as well.
But that's how you got started, right? So dentistry came
Yep.
first, marketing came later. How was that? So you were a dentist, you're working, you're very successful, but then all of a sudden you are so you want to do something else and you start thinking about the e-commerce. Tell me more about that. How did you how did that
so I really
initiative?
Yeah, I really just fell into it. It fell in my lap. So when I was a dentist in the Air Force, I was stationed in Louisiana, in the middle of nowhere, Shreveport, Louisiana. And the days would start at 7 a.m., they would end at 3 p.m. So I had all this free time in the world, the whole day ahead of me and in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do after work. And so my brother, who has been actually my business partner for the past 10 years, he was building these large Instagram pages back in the day. So at Rap, RAP on Instagram, that's his page. I think 20 or 30 million followers across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So he was building Rap. He was building a few other pages very similar to Rap in different niches. And he had the idea. He saw that there were all these large social media properties with huge followings, and they weren't being monetized. So he was actually the one that came to me asking if, I would build out this platform with him that would get all the big social media pages like influencers and other publishers on the platform, and then we would have affiliate offers for them to run. So that's how I got my start. I was just bored. I knew nothing about social media or marketing other than I had an Instagram page and never posted on it. And once I got deep into it and saw the potential and the upside, and I knew this had tons of momentum and legs, I just started getting deeper and deeper into it, then started making money from it, and then started making really good money from it. And then one thing led to a next thing, and then it kept going and cascading from there. And I was juggling both careers for about 7 years simultaneously. And once COVID hit, actually, I was actually under contract to buy an orthodontic practice. This is after my Air Force commitment. I went and did a 3-year residency program to specialize in orthodontics in New York City. I was under contract to buy, right after my residency, under contract to buy that practice in the Bronx. And during due diligence, COVID hit and everything shut down in New York City. And you couldn't even open an orthodontic practice because it's elective treatment. And we all know that it's considered cosmetic, not medically necessary. So you literally couldn't open your doors for months in New York City. So during that time, very fortunate for me, I had an agency, I had brands that I was operating. So I just dedicated full time around the clock to the agency and e-commerce. And a few months later, things opened back up in New York City, and the practice I was going to buy, they never returned the revenue to where it needed to be to make the deal go through. And eventually just never treated another patient again, and decided to just stay full time on the digital marketing side. That was a tough decision to make, but it kind of fell in my lap. And as you can see, I'm very open to opportunities where I see opportunity and my passions align. I don't hesitate to kind of go where the momentum is.
Two different ways of going about it, right? Because to become a dentist, an orthodontist, you went to school, you studied very hard, but everything you did in marketing, my guess is you just learned on your own, right? How did you learn?
Totally self-taught. I've always been a self-taught person. So yeah, going to become an orthodontist is extremely grueling. It was my lifelong journey and passion and goal. For example, you have to finish top of your class in college to get into dental school. You need to get top percentile on the dental admissions test. Then when you get to dental school, if you want to be an orthodontist, good luck. You have to finish top 5 in your class out of over 100 very smart people. Plus, you need to, get over a 90 percentile on your board exam. So it's extremely difficult to get to the point where I did. But I would say I was never one to pay attention in class or even wanting to go to class. I'd rather sit at home with a textbook and just read and think through it myself. And so it was extremely easy. I even published research on orthodontics in the American Journal of Orthodontics. So I was always a very academic person and could pick up concepts pretty easily and think through them and apply them into real life scenarios. So if I could do that in medicine and dentistry and, work as a hospital resident for 3 years, then, reading digital marketing, Facebook Blueprint and watching some YouTube videos on how to run Facebook ads and how to think about analytics and metrics, it was a piece of cake.
So your analytical skills that you brought from medicine, you were able to basically, that's hard. Learning,
Yep.
marketing became very easy to you. The concepts were easier. How much existed and how much were you creating on the fly, right? You said, look, Instagram influencers was not even a thing or was only starting to be a thing, right?
Yep.
Do you think of your brother and yourself as you are seeing the trend coming even before it's a trend? It's that an important skills that you have?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's probably been the biggest advantage we've had even as an agency. Myself and my brother are visionaries in the sense that we always know when something is going to become mainstream before it actually does. So you always have those little moments of arbitrage opportunities. So for example, I was buying posts from Cardi B for $100 daily. And this is before Cardi B was really that famous, but I knew that she had a devout following on Instagram. I think she only had a few 100,000 followers on Instagram. Every single post I would post with Cardi B would generate over 10K in revenue. So $100 returning over 10K do that every single day, find thousands of other Cardi B's, do the same thing with them. And eventually other brands catch on, you start getting competition, influencers increase their rates, there's, start having diminishing returns. If these influencers post every single day, their customers or their followers aren't going to keep buying every single day. So you get to the point of saturation there too. And then Instagram changed the algorithm back in 2016 that nuked everything. So they realized that a lot of people started going directly to the people that had all the followers, right? And they would buy direct placements from them. What did that mean? It means that you weren't spending money on the Facebook ad platform.
Right.
Instagram doesn't get a cut of all the payments that you work out with influencers on the side. And so Instagram came out with essentially a feature where they would be able to detect if an influencer post was an ad or if it was an organic post. They would scan for words like click the link in my bio to buy this product, or like anytime a product was featured in the creative, they automatically detected it and they nuked the reach on it. So if you had 1 million followers, an ad post would get very volatile performance. It would be anywhere from a few thousand views on that post to maybe 1 million, but it was much less predictable. So it kind of destroyed that whole arbitrage moment. So and then we always foresee what's coming next. In current times, it's TikTok Shop. A few years ago, it was SMS. There's always something new that not everyone's doing yet, and those are your moments to really capitalize.
How do you find the influencers? Because it seems that you are not only seeing the trends in terms of what platform is going to be important, but also who is now an important influencer, but not that big before they get super big, right? Like Cardi B, I mean, she was big, but she wasn't what she is today. But still, you are going like, it's here. Trust me, it's here, right? How do you do that? How do you track and find those influencers?
So the beauty of it now is that your follower count does not matter at all, which is much different. So let's say 10 years ago, let's go back to 2014. Cardi B, if she had 500,000 followers, the max reach that she would get organically would generally be her ceiling would be her follower count. So if she had 100% reach and penetration across all followers, she would get 500,000 views on a post. It was very rare that it would get further reach from that. Nowadays, it's totally the opposite. Instagram and TikTok, they want creators to invest in the platform, and they know it's very difficult to grow a following now. So what they do is they do not limit your reach, your organic reach, by your follower count. So that's why you hear of all these creators on TikTok going viral, and they had 2,000 followers, but their video got 20 million views, and those 20 million views generated 500,000 in revenue for a brand that was featured in that post. So it goes to show you that follower count doesn't matter at all anymore, and there is no like under the radar influencer, I would say, because someone like off the street that no one knows, they have no influence, they could just post one post randomly one day, not consider themselves an influencer, and the next day they are an influencer with 30,000 new followers because that one post hit it.
Is there a formula that works for posts to go viral, or is it random things happen?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's definitely not random. The algorithm has certain criteria that it looks for to send posts viral. So like our strategy, particularly to create viral posts with more precision and frequency than a typical brand, is using a few different research tools. So we have a bunch of different analytics and insights. So we see what types of videos have performed really well for a certain product category. So if it's like a supplement brand, we have data that we can go on and see like, all right, what TikTok Shop supplement brands have had viral posts that generated X amount or more in revenue in the last week. So we'll draw inspiration from there. They generated the most revenue organically, that means that they went viral, right? So we start studying what's working recently for the brand that we're serving. And then we'll also look at TikTok has this thing called creator search insights. So you can see what hashtags are trending and what topics are trending and try to tie your content strategy back to something that's really relevant and trending already in present day. Okay, so we use that. Then there's trending music as well. So we'll look at in creator search insights, you can actually look at what music is trending. So different songs to include in your video. What else? We have, let's see. So it's hashtags, it's music, it's the format. So typically there's also a format of the video. So in TikTok, there's things like comment response. There's, going live on a live stream. There's duet. So it's like filming a reaction to another video in a split screen. So certain formats like that tend to perform better in the algorithm at certain points in time. So we use our analytics tools to also see what's currently performing well in terms of the format. And we combine all of that into our creative brief to then give the influencer, and they try to mix and match everything. And that produces viral videos at a higher rate.
Who is your customer? Because you work for companies, you work for influencers, you mentioned music, you mentioned so many things, right? That
Yep.
exist there. Are all of those your customers, or one specific group out of them?
Yeah, great question. So our customers are largely e-commerce brands. So brands that are just looking to generate higher revenue or profit online through Facebook ads, social commerce, Google ads, email marketing. We do all those services for e-commerce brands.
Have you ever ventured into more services company, or is it important to stay within the e-commerce focus that you have?
So we also have a large sector of clients within the tech vertical, and also finance, like PE and VC firms. So we do a lot of public relations for those types of clients. But outside of e-commerce, it's probably just more B2C, non-e-commerce, like theme parks, like AAA, car insurance type companies. So yeah, it's kind of mostly e-commerce, but we do straddle other industries.
Got it. How do you is are you at a place where it's mostly inflow of, because of the name that you have built, because of Avenue C and where you are and your trajectory? Is it more of customers coming to you, or are you still at a place where you need to go build relationships with potential customers?
It's funny because we've been very fortunate that we've never really had to build an outbound sales focus. We never intended to become an agency. So by nature, we become an agency because of inbound demand. People saw what we were doing for our own brands, and they started contacting us. We didn't even have an agency website or an agency name. So they just started contacting us through our network. And we've always been great at networking. People knew our name because we speak to everyone, we help when we can. And so people just gradually reached out to us, became clients, then we did good work, so they referred other clients. And we've been on that trajectory ever since. We've never really had much, we never even had an outbound sales team until we were acquired this past year. We've been very fortunate to just have everything was inbound lead flow from the website, word of mouth. We have a big partnerships focus. So in order to, enhance performance for our clients online, we need technology, right? So we have a big tech partner focus, and they refer a lot of clients to us, because they come across the same type of e-commerce brands that have pain points that they need to improve performance on their digital media or whatever it may be. And so we get a ton of referrals from, all directions.
Very nice. What are some of the big no's? Like you look at e-commerce, or you start working with a client and they show you what they have been doing, and all of a sudden you go like, oh, I see why you're not getting, why this is not working. Are there things that you advise your customers, like, please don't ever do this, that, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. There's all over the business. So like, because we came from the brand side and we did everything, we know how to connect all the dots. A lot of ad agencies out there only know the ad platform, right? But what happens after a user clicks the ad and they go to the website? Does that agency know anything about conversion rate optimization? Do they even look at it? Do they even know how are your ads going to perform well if you don't know why conversion rate is so low, or you don't know how to improve it, right? So there's so much that's happening outside of an ad account that impacts performance within an ad account. So having that holistic approach, we're able to identify issues all over the funnel that their either in-house team or past agency had no idea was even happening. So we have benchmarks throughout, to identify issues very easily. And we have solutions around every potential issue you could think of when it comes to the funnel.
What are the top 3 KPIs or indicators that matter most in your world? What are the, if there is a top 3, maybe there's more, but if you had to mention the most important, like, this is where we win or lose the game.
Yep. So, I mean, for e-commerce brands, especially in the past couple of years since the economy turned for the worse, profitability is everything. You know, like brands aren't going to be able to raise a new round of fundraising and, in a month if things turn south. So cash flow profitability is everything that we optimize for, but particularly contribution margin, which is just the variable profit after all variable expenses. So, what is there left over after ad spend, cost of goods sold, merchant processing fees, things like that. And that contribution margin needs to be higher than a brand's fixed expenses. That's how they profit. We always keep an eye on that. We built an analytics platform to track that daily so that we can pivot quickly before a brand actually bleeds. So contribution margin, CPA, so the cost to acquire a new customer. So brands, if they're not acquiring new customers efficiently and increasing over time, then the writing's on the wall that they're going to shrink. And obviously customer retention too. So we look at not just new customer growth, but existing customer revenue, like returning customer revenue. So that really speaks mostly to retention marketing strategies, which we handle here to email and SMS. So, yep.
You keep going back to the data, right? And you are measuring so much, and that's a differentiator for what you do. But you're also a chief innovator officer. Innovation is such a, how much of what you do is data driven, how much of what you do is intuition driven into that innovation, right? So some of the stuff you and your brother were doing, maybe the data wasn't even there to back up what you were starting to do, right? So when you are building up new ideas, how does that work?
That's a great question. For our clients, servicing our clients, all data driven, no intuition. I think when you inject intuition into an objective program like digital marketing, then that's where you make big mistakes. So objectivity in client performance, all that stuff is data driven. Now, where the innovation comes into play and more subjective lines of thinking and intuition is on my role on the business, which is innovating new service lines, new approaches. Like I knew social commerce and TikTok Shop was the new wave. So like I got ahead of that a year ago. I started building out that service internally before people even knew what TikTok Shop was. We were one of TikTok Shop's first partners ever. And so things like that are all intuition based because of my past experience. And I knew what TikTok Shop meant because of my experience on the influencer and affiliate days 10 years ago. That's exactly what I saw happening again now, right before our eyes with TikTok Shop and their affiliate marketplace rollout. So things like that, it's intuition driven by experience. There is no data to your point. It's just pure intuition. I knew SMS was going to become huge before, when it was still taboo. Maybe what was that, 5 years ago, something like that. Attentive Mobile, we were probably one of their first agency partners. So we're very good at just having the feeling on where the opportunity is. And it's like the intuition really stays at the business level and the data-driven nature is all about delivering the service.
Is there any platform, let me rephrase, are all of your campaigns multi-platform all the time? Do you see shifts in platforms? Because maybe right now TikTok is sexier than Facebook, but a huge number of people still use Facebook, right? So if I were only to go by intuition, I will go, yeah, TikTok is more important than Facebook. And maybe you tell me the data is telling something completely different, right? So what are you seeing in terms of hype versus reality that the data is telling you in terms of the different platforms that exist out there?
Yeah, Facebook is still king. Meta is, you hear everything about TikTok Shop. Now that's where the biggest opportunity is, but it's not because of paid media performance. The opportunity on TikTok Shop is really through affiliate and influencer, like scaling that organically, and also a big organic content focus on the brands page. But in terms of media mix for e-commerce brands right now, it's 75, 80% Meta. It's crazy. So if you're a brand under 7 figures in revenue, you should pretty much only be on Meta and maybe small budgets on Google. It's really the top three. It goes Meta, Google, TikTok. Meta is around 75, 80%. Google's around 15 to 20. And then TikTok is like 5% of ad spend right now. There's some experimental budget right now being deployed on Pinterest, Snapchat, and surprisingly Reddit. We're launching our first Reddit campaign in 5 years on Monday. So I'm actually excited because they've, after they went public, they're making a big concerted public push for their ad products for e-commerce brands, and got a first look under the hood today. And it's pretty interesting. You could do a lot of like intent-based targeting based on keywords and things like that. So I think I have some pretty high hopes for Reddit potentially emerging as a fourth viable channel for performance marketing. We'll see. But yeah, that's really the media mix now. Everyone talks, all you hear about is Facebook, negative things about it. They're an evil empire, this and that. Without Facebook, e-commerce brands, 99% wouldn't even exist today. And you hear all the sexy topics of the day, and they're nothing compared to Facebook. And I don't think there will be a true meta challenger in my career. Like they're so far ahead, levels and shoulders above every other platform, that I don't know how it would ever be possible to compete with a Meta to get to that level of share of media mix.
Wow, great insight. How about the physical world? How does that play into what you're doing? Is it by influencers doing stuff on the physical world and then you use that for campaigns? Is it you doing events? There's a lot that's going on social media, but how does the events on the physical world play into the strategy?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think we've had a really renewed focus on that in the past year. After COVID, obviously COVID kind of nuked in real life experiences for a while. And now there's a real thirst for it with consumers, brands, everyone just wants to get out in person. I think there's a huge opportunity that we still haven't seen truly get capitalized on yet through just activations, brand activations at events, at large events. So imagine, I'll give you a quick anecdote why I'm so bullish on this. I live in Miami. I went to this wellness event. It was like a wellness retreat for executives. It was like 300 successful people in Miami went to this event to do yoga. No, actually, the first one, it was a boxing class at some waterfront mansion, right? So what did they do? There was a brand there called TLF Apparel. I had never heard of them in my life. I work out 7 days a week. I've never even come across this brand, never saw a Facebook ad, never even heard the name. Apparently they were pretty big, but not big enough for true brand awareness and penetration into the fitness world. So they thought, well, we're going to have 300 people here that have influence, that clearly care about fitness because they're going to do a boxing class as a networking event. And we're going to give away free outfits to every single person that attends. And we're just going to ask them to wear that outfit during the boxing class. And I put on that, the shirt and shorts, went through a boxing class. And by the end of it, I was like, wow, this is better quality and more comfortable and performed well during a boxing class, better than anything I have in my closet right now, which was like the classic names like Lulu and Roan and things like that. But this was way better. So what did I do right when I got home? I ordered hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. I then posted about them and tagged them, telling the story on Twitter and LinkedIn. Next thing you know, a few months later, my company, Avenue Z, has an event in Miami. And I said, it would be a great idea to have them activate at our event in Miami. And lo and behold, they put up a stand there. We actually had a paddle event. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like pickleball. Everyone put on the clothes. They got a ton of customers. I don't even know if they've measured the level of impact those activations have had. But I can tell you, I've worn that TLF outfit. It has a logo on it. No one ever knows what it is. People see me in the gym. They're like, oh, what brand is that? That's like nice stuff. Where'd you get that? And I can't tell you how many people I have sold on word of mouth because they just asked me what brand it was that I was wearing. And none of that is being measured or attributed by TLF. I guarantee it. But I think there's a big opportunity there for attribution companies to have an events focus where you take the customer list or the attendee list of any event, and then you match it to future purchases down the road, come up with whatever attribution window you want, 6 months or something. And then you can start measuring performance of events. So it's like kind of blending in real life to digital and bringing that all into one ecosystem. And then that's how you scale events. Once you start measuring it, then you can manage it.
Nice, very nice.
Yep.
But what new technology gets you, or new? What technology gets you excited right now that you think can make an impact? There's the, AI, there's AR, VR, there's creating like a digital twin for e-commerce and big brands doing, you go to a metaverse and you can shop in that metaverse. What gets you excited? What do you think, like, hey, this one is going to be huge?
I think the main technology that excites me is really the nerdy stuff. It's not really like anything cool like AR or VR. And I think that's kind of out there right now because of the economy. If we were still in, that zero interest rate environment where you have all this focus on the metaverse, I think there would be a lot more innovation and adoption there. But Meta pivoted away from it. There's a lot of like hesitancy to build in that area now. So I would say the things that are most exciting to me are the boring things. So like media mix modeling. There's one tool that's AI driven called Prescient AI that is a different way of attributing performance of just your marketing campaigns rather than looking at things deterministically like a multi-touch attribution solution and following people around through clicks and trying to attribute and give credit to different touch points. To your point, there's a lot of blending between in real life and what happens in person versus what happens online and everything in between. There's no way multi-touch attribution solutions can account for that. So there's enter probabilistic attribution and media mix modeling. It really just understands what your tentpole events are. If you activated at a certain event, if you did a Super Bowl ad, if you had this PR campaign go out, whatever it may be, all these random things that have nothing to do with a digital marketing campaign and ad spend, and trying to attribute overall conversions to those non-digital things so that you're getting a more accurate look at your digital stack. That excites me. And like I said before, objective projects should never have subjectivity in it. So like media buying in general is very objective in nature. It's all math. Should I increase or decrease budget based on the frequency this ad has shown, based on the return on ad spend we're getting, based on the saturation curve of this audience we've been targeting? Are we getting diminishing returns, right? That's all objective. There shouldn't be a human intuition involved there. So what Prescient AI does, it introduces all objectivity. It'll look at saturation curves. It'll then predict how that campaign is going to perform tomorrow and the week after and the month after. And it'll give you recommendations based on math and linear regression models if you should increase or decrease budget, or if you should take that ad spend and move it over to Snapchat or TikTok, or if you should move it to a different ad set or campaign within Meta itself. And it gives you confidence levels. So that's what excites me, as you can tell, because that brings us to like a future-proof environment that does not rely on cookies. It doesn't rely on human error. And it gives you just a clear way to move forward and leveraging AI for the right things.
You are a data scientist by heart.
Yep. I'm a nerd.
I absolutely love it. What are your thoughts on the TikTok bill ban? Do you think it will have an impact? Do you think it's, noise? But hey, guys, don't worry. It's, things are going to stay the same. What are your thoughts?
I think it's all noise for now. And the noise has subsided substantially since this went to federal court. I don't even know how long ago that was now. Like we heard all the noise. Oh, Biden signed the bill, passed through the Senate. Biden signed it. The next day it was in court. TikTok is suing us now, is suing the US that it was unconstitutional. And we haven't heard a thing in the media now. So my prediction was that, well, first of all, the real question was never, will TikTok get, outlawed essentially in the US? That was never the question. We knew that was going to happen and get signed. And the real question was, is TikTok going to change as we know it? And the answer to that is I don't believe so, because it would need to essentially not divest. So like ByteDance would have to, if ByteDance did not sell TikTok and it did not successfully contest it in court, then TikTok would change as we know it. Who knows how long this will be held up in court now? TikTok is worth over $100 billion, I believe, was the last valuation, private valuation. You think they're going to let that go to zero? No. And when I talk to TikTok employees and leadership, they don't seem concerned. if their jobs were at risk right now, I think they would be, abandoning ship and going over to Meta or some other platform. That hasn't happened. There has not been this exodus that you would expect if a company was going to truly go away as we know it. I even know TikTok investors that don't seem too concerned, right? If your investment was going to go to zero overnight and you had substantial investment, would you be panicking? I think the answer is yes, right? Like, and they're not panicking. So those signals right there tell me like they know something that we don't. And so this could be drawn out for years in court. We never know. And who knows, with the leadership change that might be inevitable here in the US in the next year with elections, who knows if that throws another wrench into things. Like, there's so many unknowns, and I think the stars would truly have to align for TikTok to actually change as we know it. So my prediction is it won't change. I think it'll be here to stay. Maybe a few more legislative things against TikTok to really button it up and make sure China is not accessing the data will have to happen. Maybe a few policy changes, whatever, but it's here to stay, in my opinion. And I don't think brands or businesses should pivot their strategy now with the small chance that it will change potentially years down the road.
Thank you. One last question to you, Jonathan. What do you do when you're not working?
I live on Miami Beach, so with the beach in my backyard, that's literally my favorite thing to do on the weekends. The main driver why I moved from New Jersey to Miami is to be on the beach. So every weekend, it's like living on vacation. I just roll out of my house and walk right onto the beach and chill out there. I love staying active. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I do some form of physical activity 7 days a week. So on the weekends, I usually go for a run on the beach. So I also love spectating football. Fantasy football is a huge passion of mine. Won the direct-to-consumer fantasy football championship 2 years in a row. So I like to nerd out on fantasy football. Yeah, so it's really a mixture of just working, relaxing, and consuming sports.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Jonathan, this has been an amazing conversation. You have so much knowledge, so much passion for what you do, for the data behind it. It's really a science and an art at the same time. So thank you for being here, and I hope we can do this sometime again in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.